Hey friends and glitch connoisseurs, welcome back. So glad to see you here again. See, I'm not sure why, but the story about the operator stuck with me. I found another one that I'll read today, but before that, if you're new here, welcome. If you like glitch stories and other unusual tales, don't move a muscle. You're at the right place because that's what we do several times a week. So thank you for being here, and it'd be great if you considered subscribing, because we're basically brand new, and you can unsubscribe later if you change your mind, no hard feelings. Thank you for listening, and now, the stories. First glitch. Before the pandemic, I had to fly from New York to LA to take care of some family business. About an hour in, I was just staring out the window, watching the world go by, and the day was super bright and sunny. I mean, we're talking gorgeous, clear skies and fluffy white clouds. But then suddenly everything outside the window went completely black. I'm not talking about it getting dark like it's nighttime or we went through a cloud or something. I mean, it was so black it was like looking into a void. I couldn't see anything, not even my own reflection in the window. It was like staring into pure nothingness. I tried to make out anything, just some hint of light or shape in the distance, but there was nothing. I even pressed my face against the window, squinting, trying to see if there was anything at all out there. But it was like staring into an abyss. It was just this endless, all-consuming darkness, like the plane was suspended in a void. It was honestly terrifying. I looked around the cabin to see if anyone else noticed this weirdness. I mean, we just entered an alternate dimension or something, right? But nope. Everyone else was just doing their thing, watching movies, eating snacks, chatting. Even the flight attendants were just going about their business. It was like I was the only one seeing this. I nudged the guy next to me and asked, "Hey, do you see that?" Pointing outside. He gave me a weird look, glanced out the window, and was like, "See what? It's just a cloudy day, man." Cloudy day? Seriously? There was nothing out there, no light, no shapes, nothing. This blackness lasted for a few more seconds, so maybe 1 minute total. Then the normal daylight came back, just as suddenly as it started. Blue skies, white clouds, like nothing had happened. I was stunned. I asked the guy next to me if he saw the blackness go away, and he was like, "What blackness? I don't know what you're talking about." I was so confused. How could he not see it? The rest of the flight was totally normal, and no one mentioned anything weird. What the heck did I see? Next glitch. I've got to share something that happened to me a while back. I don't even know if it counts as a glitch in the Matrix. One evening I was walking to the corner store to pick up some snacks. It was already dark and the streets were pretty empty. Suddenly my phone rings. It's a number I don't recognize, but I answer anyway, thinking maybe it's a call from work or something. The voice on the other end was calm, almost soothing, and it simply said, "Hello, operator speaking. How may I assist you today?" Weirded out, I asked, "Who is this?" The voice responded, "I am the operator. I answer questions." That was it. Just the same calm, flat tone. No explanation. Okay, I'll bite, I thought. What's the meaning of life?" I asked, half joking. There was a pause, then the voice said, "To live is to experience, to learn, and to love. This is the essence of life." The voice sounded so earnest and sincere, like it was coming from some wise old sage, not a random caller. I kept walking as I continued talking with the operator. I asked about my future, and it replied, "The future is created with each decision you make. Embrace uncertainty and follow your heart." I was a bit stunned. It was like talking to the most insightful fortune cookie ever. Then things got a little strange. I asked, "Who are you?" There was a longer pause this time. "I'm a guide, a conduit for knowledge. I'm here to provide you with answers you seek." I couldn't help it. I was getting kind of creeped out. The voice seemed so calm, so unemotional. It didn't even feel like I was talking to a real person. So I decided to ask one more question. Why are you calling me? The voice answered immediately this time. You have questions that need answers. I am here to help. I stopped walking, feeling an eerie sense of dread. How did this person or thing know I had questions? Who or what was the operator? Without thinking, I hung up the phone. Yeah, I know. Why did I do that? Now I think I blew my chance to get some answers. But I was just so freaked out, I couldn't think straight. So my phone didn't show any record of the call. It was as if the conversation had never happened. I made it to the store, but I couldn't stop thinking about the call. I tried calling the number back when I got home, but it just said the number was not in service. I still have no idea what happened that night, but it felt like I had stumbled upon something I wasn't supposed to know about. Like I had a brief conversation with some otherworldly being who knew things no one else could know. I hope the operator calls me again someday. I have so many more questions. A brown trench coat and holding a black umbrella. I remember thinking, who wears sunglasses on a cloudy day? Weird flex, but okay. I started noticing him every single day at the same bus stop, and he always had his sunglasses on, even when it was raining. I was like, dude, you're not Will Smith, take off the shades. One day I see him at his usual bus stop. 10 minutes later, he's chilling near the park. And then, again by a coffee shop. Told my work buddies about it, and they were like, man, you've finally lost it. Too much coffee? But I knew something was up. From then on, it was like he was everywhere. I'd changed my route, and boom, there he was. It was like playing Where's Waldo? Except Waldo was this random bald dude. Then one day I took a new way to work because my GPS told me to, and for once he wasn't there. I was like, phew, maybe I was just going nuts. But life's funny, right? Just as I'm parking at work, guess who's there, standing by the entrance? Yep, Mr. Everywhere Man. By the time I got out of my car, he was gone. That was the last time I saw him. After all these weeks, do you think it means something? Like, was he a ghost or a time traveler? Maybe it wasn't really the same guy, but just a bunch of look-alikes? Have any of you seen something similar before? Just as I'm parking at work, guess who's there, standing by the entrance? Yep, Mr. Everywhere Man. By the time I got out of my car, he was gone. That was the last time I saw him. After all these weeks, do you think it means something? Like, was he a ghost or a time traveler? Maybe it wasn't really the same guy, but just a bunch of look-alikes? Have any of you seen something similar before? Next glitch. I want to share with you this weird thing that happened to me and my dog Chewy a couple of weeks ago. Just for some context, Chewy is a lovable German Shepherd, always happy and curious about everything. So I was walking Chewy around the neighborhood and we were enjoying the walk when at some point Chewy just stopped and growled. Now that was a bit surprising because Chewy basically never growls. I looked around to see what was bothering him, but I couldn't see anything out of the ordinary. I looked down and realized he was staring down at something. This shadow on the sidewalk, a perfect silhouette of a dog that even looked a lot like Chewy. The thing is, there was nothing around that could have cast that shadow. No other dogs, no objects. It was as if the shadow was just there on its own. I tried to get Chewy to move along, but he was fixated on that shadow. He kept tilting his head left and right, trying to figure it out. I even waved my hand over the shadow, thinking maybe I'd feel something, but of course I didn't feel anything. After a couple of minutes, Chewy finally barked at the shadow, which, by the way, didn't react at all. and he trotted off like nothing happened, pulling on the leash. I was feeling pretty spooked, but we continued our walk. On our way back home, we passed the same spot and the shadow was gone. That night, Chewy seemed a bit restless. He kept getting up and walking over to the window, staring outside as if he was expecting to see something. When I looked out the window, there was nothing unusual. I still have no idea what it was. I mean, a shadow without anything to cast it? That's just not normal, right? I haven't walked that route with Chewy since then, just to be safe. Do you have any idea what happened? Next glitch. Hello everyone. I've been a long-time lurker on this sub and finally decided to share a story that happened to me a few months ago. This is going to be a long one, so please bear with me. I've been trying to make sense of it, and I'd really appreciate any insights. It started on a Saturday afternoon. I'd planned to spend the day at home relaxing and catching up on some reading. Everything seemed normal until around 4 p.m. I was in the living room when I suddenly heard a loud crashing sound coming from my kitchen. I jumped up and rushed to see what had happened. When I walked into the kitchen, I saw that one of the shelves had collapsed, and several of my dishes had shattered on the floor. I spent the next 15 minutes cleaning up the mess and putting the remaining dishes on another shelf. I figured the shelf had just given out from the weight of the dishes and took note to go to Home Depot at some point. I sat back down in the living room and picked up my book again. But after reading a few pages, I realized I couldn't focus. I kept getting this strange feeling that something was off. I tried to shake it off, but it was hard to ignore. It felt like something was watching me, but every time I looked around, there was nothing there. I decided to go for a walk, hoping the fresh air would help clear my head. As I was walking down my street, I saw my neighbor, Mrs. Anderson, walking her dog. She waved at me and I waved back, feeling a little relieved to see a familiar face. Her dog, Max, was a golden retriever, but the dog walking beside her was a dachshund. I stopped and asked her, "Hey, Mrs. Anderson, where's Max?" She looked at me, puzzled. "Max? Who's Max? This is Bruno, my dog." I was stunned. I had known Mrs. Anderson and Max for years. I had even dog-sat Max a few times when she was out of town. I mumbled something about getting confused and continued on my walk, but by then I was really starting to freak out internally. As I walked back to my house, I noticed more oddities. The color of my mailbox seemed to be a lighter shade of green, and my neighbor's car was a completely different model than I remembered. I began to feel like I was losing my mind. I rushed into my house, locked the door, and sat down at my kitchen table. I took a deep breath, trying to calm myself down. That's when I noticed the shelf that had collapsed earlier was perfectly fine, and all the dishes were back in their original places. My book was missing and I couldn't find it anywhere. I panicked when I realized I couldn't remember what book I had been reading. I tried to recall the title, the author, anything, but it was like it had been erased from my memory. My heart was racing and I felt like I was going to pass out. I decided to call my best friend Jake to see if he had noticed anything strange. As soon as he picked up the phone, I blurted out, "Jake, have you noticed anything weird going on today?" He sounded confused. "What do you mean? Everything seems normal to me." I began to tell him about the strange occurrences, but he interrupted me. "Hey, who's Mrs. Anderson?" I was taken aback. "You know Mrs. Anderson, Jake? The lady who lives 2 houses down from me with the dog Max?" He seemed genuinely confused. "I have no idea who you're talking about, man. Are you sure you're okay?" I hung up, feeling more lost than ever. I sat down on my couch, trying to make sense of everything. But the harder I tried, the more confused I got. It was like my memories were fading. getting replaced by new ones that didn't feel real. The next few days were a blur. I couldn't focus on anything. It was like I had slipped into an alternate reality where everything was slightly off. It's been a few months since then, and the feeling has subsided a bit, but I still can't shake the feeling that something is wrong. I'm afraid to bring it up with anyone, fearing they'll think I'm crazy. I'm hoping that sharing my story here might help me find some answers, or at least others who have experienced similar glitches. Next glitch. I've been a firefighter just shy of 10 years now. One night a few years back, we get a call about a power line being down across a road. As a firefighter, we can't do anything about it. That's the power company. We can, however, divert traffic away from it. So we park the truck in front of the downed line, and two of our other guys take their personal vehicles up the hill to block traffic. It's nighttime, so we have hazards on and emergency lights on our vehicles. I'm leaned up against one of my buddy's trucks, and I'm signaling to oncoming traffic with a flashlight. When they get to me, I tell them about the line and send them down a road just a little before this stop to get around it. The two other guys are on the opposite side of the truck talking, and I'm waving a flashlight at the next vehicle approaching. This is a 3-lane road. I'm in the far left lane with traffic coming towards me. It's kind of hard to tell determined speed when the vehicle is coming straight at you with headlights on. I'm flashing the driver, and it wasn't until he was about 10 yards away that I heard his engine accelerating. All I could get out of my mouth was, "He isn't stopping." And then I watched the truck slam into my friend's truck from the other side of the road. I have no idea how I got there. All I know is I was seconds away from being hit head on. Then I watched the truck hit exactly where I was standing. Turns out it was a kid texting and driving and not paying attention. However, to this day, I have no idea how I moved across 3 lanes within milliseconds and watched a collision that would have had me standing in the epicenter. Next glitch. So, about 20 years back when I was around 14 or so, my parents wanted to go on vacation by themselves for their anniversary. On the Friday night before Saturday, when they were going to leave, they were packing a weekend's worth of clothes and health stuff. I was in my room reading and listening to some music. Fast forward to about 11 p.m. I get pretty thirsty and need to get up and stretch my legs. I can get really into books at some points, so I get off my bed and go to our kitchen. First thing I notice straight out of my room's doorway is that the house is dead silent, except for the drone of the news reporter on the TV downstairs. I figure they all fell asleep or something and check my parents' room. Nobody's there. Check my brother's and sister's room, same thing. Go downstairs, nobody's there, not in the living room with the TV, nor the dining room, nor the kitchen. At this point, I figure out something effie's going on, grab a drink and a flashlight, and head out into the back to see if they went there for some odd reason. It's pitch black outside, the moon reflecting off of our circle pool, but that's it. Nobody's around. For shits and giggles, I wander to the back of our yard. Not very far, but I'm not within running distance of the back door either. I'm checking things out when all of a sudden I hear extremely loud electronica music coming from my house. Like, so loud if I put earmuffs on I would have thought I had my headphones on. I start running back to the back of the house, and once I touch the doorknob, it stops. Like, instantly. I come back inside and check everywhere I checked before. Yep, parents are still packing, bro and sis are asleep, and my dog is sleeping on the couch with the TV playing the typical after midnight static. I told my family members about this, but they always insisted I was playing a joke or lying because honestly, I can't explain what happened that night. And that's it for episode 22. Thank you for making it this far, you're awesome. Remember what the operator said, "The future is created with each decision you make. Embrace uncertainty and follow your heart." Drop a like if you enjoyed it, and don't forget the comment section is all yours. Thank you again so much. See you next time.